The CoinDesk Spotlight is brought to you by Nexo, the place to earn on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and more.
So joining us now to discuss India's new crypto tax rules is CoinDesk reporter Amitoj Singh in New Delhi. Hello there, Amitoj. Thanks for joining us. So you wrote an article for CoinDesk. India edges toward crypto legislation with 30% tax, announces digital rupee launch. What were some of your key findings?
Well, it's interesting. We did struggle or rather grapple with just framing that headline because one aspect to these big developments in this budget speech by the finance minister, the biggest day in the year of when it comes to finance and in crypto for now, is the fact that you're trying to just get a sense of whether they are actually edging towards legalizing or not. Or they are saying, well, we're going to take our time in figuring this out, wait for global consensus, national consensus, just figure out everything that's in between the lines. And in the meantime, if anyone else is making money out of it, we should make money out of it too. So let's just tax them. And let's tax them the most that we can actually tax them, which is 30%. That's the highest slab. Anyone earning more than 12 lakh rupees per year is also taxed like that. So they've done that. When it comes to actually just getting a sense of how they're going to frame it, and my ex-colleague, Sunil Prabhu of India's one of the best networks, NDTV, Sunil Prabhu was at the press conference. He asked a question to the finance minister and said, hey, 1 second, you're taxing it, but you've not regulated it. And she returned and said that we've circulated a paper, inputs are coming in, public stakeholders are coming in, so regulation goes through that process. I don't wait till regulation comes into place before taxing people who earn profits.
Thanks so much for coming on. It's great to have you on this big story. So I guess the question is, how likely is any of this going to happen? Because as we've seen with India before, there's been a lot of announcements and bills. And I mean, is this something that's really going to happen, or is this just something that's now just like up for discussion?
No, this is written in stone now. The financial budget is what becomes the finance bill. So it becomes, in effect, law. Now, is this a crypto law? No, it's a retrofit law which changes the central bank's rules on how they function. So it's basically added to that. What that means is that there will be a tax on any income that you can make on crypto as a retail investor or otherwise. And also, additionally, the aspect of that CBDC, or as the finance minister called it, the digital rupee. The news about that is interesting because so far they've been saying that they're going to have a pilot project. They're going to certainly come up with one retail CBDC and wholesale CBDC, but they've said it very categorically this time from the finance ministry and not from the central bank that we are coming up with one, and it's going to come this year. That was the big takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised to see that because I didn't think India was going to move that fast with the digital rupee. What do you think is motivating them to accelerate? Do you think China could be part of it? China is planning to sort of like showcase its digital currency to the world in the upcoming Olympics, or is there some other reason that's pushing them to do this faster than expected?
It's difficult to say. You're not getting a lot from the government and the inner circles of that working group that is working on the draft policy. You're not getting much out of them. So you're not really understanding whether it's because they generally want to make sure that they have this industry under their thumb and under their watchful eyes, or is it because there's a geopolitical, change out there happening that they have to be aware of and they don't want to be left behind in this situation. So it could definitely be China. And there have been several who've actually said to me, in fact, one source, and we reported this earlier, this source is one of the senior members within the RBI infrastructure, had basically said at the time that, yes, China is a factor. But it may be a factor for one institution in the financial spectrum of India, not another. So that's where it gets interesting.
So before it seemed that India may have actually banned crypto trading altogether and to make way potentially for this CBDC, this digital rupee. But now this seems to be a compromise in that, okay, well, now we're just going to tax you. So do you think this is a money grab or a statement on crypto?
It's a bit of both. The burgeoning crypto ecosystem in India has made sure that they couldn't ban it. But just to think about it in the way in which they framed the law, which they've already said they're going to kind of tweak, they've said that they're going to ban all cryptocurrencies. and they may make exceptions to promote the underlying technology of blockchain. But as one industry expert who wished to not be named after this budget was announced said to me, he said very clearly that, one second, you're telling me you're going to tax retail investors 30%, but at the same time you want to promote the technology of blockchain. How is that going to happen? People may just run away from crypto and go back to the equity market. So it's very interesting. They're certainly in a place where there's so many competing priorities. Remember, there's an election coming up in just a few days. 5 states, including the most populous, the most important state election in the world's largest democracy. They don't want to tinker too much. This has been a safe budget, and crypto also has been a safe, a take by them. Just the tax and the announcement of the digital rupee.
So with this tax, now it's going to be, you said it's set in stone. So it's part of the overall budget, right? So if that's what's going to get passed, this will get passed with it. What will they do to actually enforce it? In other words, do the exchanges have anything in place that would allow them to tell the state or to tell the federal government that, okay, these are the people who owe taxes, et cetera? Or is it just sort of like, hoping that people are honest on their taxes?
No, that's a very interesting question. Look, I spoke to several members of the industry or the crypto ecosystem after the budget was announced, and I got mixed reactions. One said it's good. I don't care if they've actually taxed us 30%. It's good now because it's kind of a legitimizing of crypto in the country, which we've been thirsting for. The other said, wait, hello. It's good, but it's too high, and the fear is that it could, result in retail investors just moving away from crypto as completely. But how this will be implemented is something they still have to get to, because the finer details of the budget and what's written in the rule is something they have to interpret, check with their lawyers. So they're coming back around on that. Just to give you a background on this, we've done a story, an investigative story, an inside story on what was basically inspections by agencies that monitor tax returns given by, for example, crypto exchanges. And if they are short, they, in a sense, land up at their office and say, hey, you owe us this much. And that can look bad. And that had actually happened with a lot of these exchanges. And we've done a story on that. So there is a mechanism that they themselves, the exchanges, have put in place. And there is a mechanism to monitor them that is already in place from the government side. So that, I think, is just going to be needing a certain amount of streamlining and nothing much more.
Just could you help us put into perspective how big 30% taxes really are? Because, 30% tax on every transaction, that seems like that would be quite a lot in the Indian context, just because my understanding is that India has like a lot of really small retail traders who trade like Shiba Inu. And usually the way taxes work is that, at least in the US, there's like income brackets, right? But this is 30% across the board. I mean, was that considered high in India? I'm just trying to get a sense of like the perspective here.
It's the highest. That's the tax slab over 12 lakh. And you're right. It's incremental for people who have a different salary take homes. But what they've done is that they believe that if you are investing in crypto, then you're kind of a person who's maybe well off. And therefore they've said, okay, let's go with the highest tax slab. How much is 30%? Is an interesting question, because in India, for those who are investing in crypto, are already open to the idea of, let's say, a larger risk than they would have taken with the equity market. And therefore, they're also looking for more take home. It's a gamble both ways. So they're okay with that kind of a risk. And if they are okay with that, then what's happening out here is that the government is saying, well, they are taking the risk. We're going to charge them the highest tax slab. And it's still, the jury is still out on whether that's going to impact these crypto traders or not. It could be a lot, but it could also be a situation where they still go ahead and use this as a legitimization. And therefore, the industry, just from the ground up, more retail investors join the bandwagon, because there's kind of like a semi-regulation that's happened, that the ban won't come. So that may just help the industry actually flourish.
So, I mean, looking at it from a broader perspective now, we're stepping back, and you said that the industry is kind of happy that these sort of things are legitimized, if you will. And do you think overall the industry in India is happy with the finance minister? I mean, obviously no one's ever happy about taxation, but are they willing to suffer a little bit, if you will, just because this proposal came out and all the positive things said about CBDCs, et cetera, the digital rupee? Do you think that overall this is a positive development, a negative development, or mixed?
Yeah, the take home is interesting. Look, you got to read what is said by the crypto exchanges to you after such an announcement. What they say to you is, well, it looks good. At least we've been legitimized. But they're looking at us and speaking to the media, knowing what they say is going to be translated and reflected. But are they also worried that this is basically the government effectively saying, okay, one, you are making money, so you got to give us money. And two, we're also coming up with our competitor, which is the digital rupee, that would probably affect you later. So in a sense, they are happy because the biggest takeaway is that they can now go ahead and say, well, if they're taxing us, then they've legitimized us. So come on, join the bandwagon. Let's do ads. Let's get the biggest film stars, Bollywood superstars, cricketers, and continue with those ads. And help the industry continue to grow. It also helps the blockchain industry, which is legitimized. And on the other hand, you have the government saying, well, hello, we have a bill coming up. That bill may just ban you and only have the Reserve Bank or the central bank's digital rupee that function in maybe one or two exchanges. So it's going to be interesting to see.